Scientists can trace your DNA back 200,000 years, but Buddhism says your origins go far beyond biology. What if you weren't born into a body, but fell into one? What if humanity didn't evolve upward from animals, but descended from something more luminous? Ancient Buddhist texts describe beings of pure light who once floated freely through the cosmos until they developed something we all struggle with today: desire. And with that first craving, they began a descent into physical form that would eventually create us, humans bound by the very desires that brought us here. As Buddha once said, all that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. This profound insight unlocks the mystery of human origins, suggesting something revolutionary. That consciousness preceded our physical form, not the other way around. Today we're uncovering Buddhism's surprising answer to humanity's oldest question: where do we actually come from? And why the answer matters more than you might think. Welcome to Buddha's Wisdom. I'm Peter, and today we're exploring one of the most profound questions that's puzzled philosophers, scientists, and spiritual seekers throughout history. The origin of humanity isn't just an academic exercise in Buddhism. It's a doorway to understanding your own existence and purpose in a way that might completely transform how you see yourself. From cosmic cycles spanning billions of years to the surprising similarities between Buddhist cosmology and modern science, we'll journey through time itself to discover not just where humans came from, but why our existence carries such extraordinary significance. In Buddhist understanding, our universe has no clear beginning point, just endless cycles of creation and dissolution. This challenges our modern desire for a definitive starting line. In the ancient Abhidharma texts, the cosmos expands and contracts over periods called kalpas, each spanning billions of years. Within this vast cosmic theater, humans didn't suddenly appear. We gradually took form. The Aggañña Sutta, one of Buddha's discourses, describes how the first humans weren't born of flesh and blood at all. They were luminous beings made of light, floating freely through space, needing no food, no shelter, no possessions. At that period, Vaseta, there was just one mass of water, and all was darkness, recounts the Buddha to his disciples. This primordial world bears striking resemblance to scientific descriptions of Earth's early environment. But then something changed. These light beings began to taste the sweet earth that formed on the primordial waters. And with that first taste, something awakened in them: desire. The Aggañña Sutta describes this evolutionary process in vivid detail. After tasting the sweet earth, these beings began harvesting and hoarding it. As they consumed more, their bodies grew coarser, distinguishing features appeared, and physical differences emerged. Soon, they discovered rice growing naturally in abundance, but their greed led them to harvest more than needed. The once self-generating rice required increasingly intensive cultivation. This necessitated property boundaries, which led to disputes, requiring leaders and governance systems. Within this single discourse, the Buddha traces human evolution from ethereal light beings to agriculturalists with complex social structures, all driven by the progressive densification of consciousness into material attachment. As these beings consumed more of the sweet substance, their bodies grew heavier, more solid. Their inner light dimmed. They developed distinctions in appearance. Some became more attractive than others. And with these changes, pride and vanity emerged. The beings who once floated effortlessly now walked the earth bound by gravity, bound by their own cravings. This isn't just an origin story. It's a profound psychological insight. The Buddha suggests that humanity's physical evolution paralleled our psychological development. our bodies grew denser, as our minds grew more attached to physical sensations and desires. This is why Buddhist practice often involves reversing this process, lightening our mental burdens, dissolving our attachments, essentially returning to that original luminous state. While this cosmological account appears most prominently in Theravada texts like the Aganya Sutta, other Buddhist traditions expand upon it in fascinating ways. Mahayana Buddhism emphasizes how this cosmic story plays out within each moment of consciousness, not just across evolutionary time. Tibetan traditions integrate these ideas with sophisticated understandings of subtle body energetics. Zen approaches strip away the mythological elements to focus on the direct experience of our original luminous nature. These diverse perspectives demonstrate how this origin story functions on multiple levels, as cosmology, psychology, and direct contemplative insight, depending on which Buddhist tradition you explore. What makes this ancient account so fascinating is how it resonates with modern scientific understanding. While science speaks of evolution through natural selection, Buddhism describes a process of gradual manifestation through collective karma, two different languages pointing toward a similar truth. Consider how the Big Bang Theory describes the universe expanding from a single point of incredible density and energy. This parallels the Buddhist concept of cosmic cycles, where universes emerge from emptiness, expand, and eventually dissolve again. Both traditions recognize that creation isn't a one-time event, but an ongoing process. Even more striking are the parallels with human evolution. Science tells us humans evolved from simpler life forms over millions of years, gradually developing higher consciousness and complex social structures. Buddhism offers a complementary perspective through the principle of dependent origination. Nothing exists independently. Everything arises from causes and conditions, including our species. When this exists, that comes to be. With the arising of this, that arises. This fundamental Buddhist teaching offers a framework for understanding not just individual development, but the evolution of our entire species. Our human form didn't emerge in isolation, but through countless interdependent factors, environmental changes, genetic adaptations, and, according to Buddhism, the ripening of collective karma. Modern genetics reveals another fascinating connection. DNA evidence suggests all humans alive today share common ancestors, tracing our lineage back to a small population in Africa. This scientific finding echoes the Buddhist account of humanity, arising from a common source, though science places this origin in our physical DNA, while Buddhism locates it in our shared consciousness. But the Buddhist account of human origins goes deeper than physical evolution. It explores how human consciousness itself developed. According to Buddhist psychology, our minds evolved alongside our bodies, becoming increasingly complex, more capable of abstract thought, but also more entangled in delusion. In the early stages described in the Aganya Sutta, those luminous beings possessed simple awareness. They lived in harmony, with little distinction between self and other, but as they developed physical forms and began to crave sensory pleasures, their consciousness grew more differentiated. They began perceiving themselves as separate entities, competing for resources. This shift in consciousness gave rise to the three poisons that Buddha identified as the root of suffering. Greed arose as beings hoarded resources. Hatred emerged from competition. Delusion grew as beings forgot their luminous nature. These mental patterns became encoded in our collective psyche, passed down through generations not just through culture, but through the subtle impressions of karma. Mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief. They are all mind-wrought. With these words from the Dhammapada, Buddha reminds us that our physical reality follows our mental patterns. Our human form itself represents the manifestation of certain tendencies of consciousness. We aren't just physical beings who developed minds. We're mental beings who developed physical forms. The Buddha elaborated on this principle with another profound insight. The thought manifests as the word manifests as the deed develops into habit, and habit hardens into character. So watch the thought in its ways with care. This progression reveals how mental patterns eventually solidify into physical reality, both in our individual lives and in our collective evolution as a species. Just as a single thought can eventually transform a person's character through this sequence, humanity's collective thought patterns have manifested as our physical form and social structures over vast spans of time. The Buddha's insight on collective karma offers a profound perspective on why humans evolved as they did. Our shared mental tendencies created the conditions for our particular form of embodiment. Our upright posture, our opposed thumbs, our large brains. These aren't random mutations but manifestations of specific karmic patterns. The physical expression of our collective mental tendencies toward certain types of experience. This creates a profound tension at the heart of human existence. We carry within us both the seeds of enlightenment and the roots of delusion. Our consciousness evolved with extraordinary capacities for wisdom and compassion, yet simultaneously developed powerful tendencies toward greed, hatred, and ignorance. This inner conflict isn't just an individual psychological struggle. It's written into our evolutionary history. The Buddha saw this tension not as a flaw, but as the essential drama of human existence. Our species literally embodies this cosmic battle between luminous awareness and dense attachment. Every choice you make either strengthens one tendency or the other, subtly influencing not just your own future, but humanity's evolutionary trajectory. This brings us to a profound question. If humans evolved through this complex interplay of physical and mental factors, what makes human existence so significant? Why did Buddha emphasize the rarity and preciousness of human birth? In Buddhist cosmology, humans occupy a unique position. We experience enough suffering to motivate spiritual practice, but possess enough freedom and intelligence to pursue liberation. The gods experience too much pleasure to seek change. The beings in hell realms endure too much pain to focus on anything else. But humans, we live in the perfect middle ground. Take a moment to consider your own experience right now. You're conscious enough to contemplate these profound ideas. You experience desires, yet can choose which ones to follow. You feel suffering, but can reflect on its causes rather than being completely overwhelmed by it. This unique balance in your own awareness isn't random. It's precisely the condition Buddhism describes as precious human birth. Looking at your life through this lens, even ordinary moments become extraordinary opportunities that beings in other realms can't access. Hard is it to be born as a human being. Hard is the life of mortals. Buddha's words here point to something extraordinary. Human birth is considered incredibly rare. This rarity isn't about physical numbers. Earth hosts billions of humans. It's about the specific karmic conditions required for human consciousness. The precise balance of awareness, desire, and free will that characterizes human experience. This balance didn't emerge by accident. It developed through countless cycles of cause and effect, through the precise tuning of consciousness itself. The Buddha illustrated this preciousness through a striking image. Imagine the entire earth covered by a vast ocean. Once every 100 years, a blind turtle surfaces for air. Meanwhile, a wooden yoke with a single hole floats randomly on this endless sea. The chance of human birth equals the turtle surfacing with its head precisely through that hole. Astronomically rare. This isn't mere poetic language. The specific balance of awareness and ignorance, pleasure and pain, freedom and limitation that characterizes human consciousness represents a unique evolutionary achievement, one that took countless cosmic cycles to produce. Understanding our origins changes how we live. When we recognize the extraordinary convergence of conditions that made human existence possible, we stop taking our lives for granted. We recognize that this human form, with its capacity for compassion, wisdom, and awakening, represents the culmination of an immense cosmic process. With this understanding comes responsibility, the responsibility to use this rare human life wisely, to direct our remarkable human consciousness toward awakening rather than further entanglement. Buddha taught that humans alone possess the unique capacity to break the cycle of rebirth, to attain enlightenment within this very lifetime. This isn't possible despite our human limitations, but precisely because of the specific way human consciousness evolved. So where does this leave us, and if we understand where humans came from, can we predict where we're going? Buddhist texts speak of future cycles, of worlds yet to come, but more importantly, they speak of potential futures for consciousness itself. One possibility is continued evolution along current trajectories, our attachment to sensory pleasures growing stronger, our sense of separation deepening, our physical forms becoming even more dense and constrained. This path leads to what Buddhism calls the degenerate age, where spiritual awakening becomes increasingly difficult. But another path exists. Buddha pointed toward the potential evolution of awareness itself, the gradual awakening of our species. As more individuals cultivate mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, these qualities ripple outward, subtly influencing collective consciousness. Perhaps our physical evolution might eventually follow, our bodies becoming more refined, more luminous, returning to something resembling our origins. Even more radical is Buddha's suggestion that consciousness could evolve beyond physical form entirely. The highest stages of meditation reveal states of awareness that transcend the material world, pure consciousness without physical boundaries. What if these aren't just subjective experiences but glimpses of evolutionary possibilities? Perhaps human consciousness isn't just becoming more refined within physical forms, but actually developing capacities that will eventually transcend physical embodiment altogether. This isn't mere speculation. Advanced meditators throughout history report experiences that suggest consciousness can function independent of the brain. What we consider supernatural abilities might actually be natural evolutionary potentials, awakening within humanity's consciousness. As a lotus flower is born in water, grows in water, and rises out of water to stand above it unsoiled, so I, born in the world, raised in the world, having overcome the world, live unsoiled by the world. Buddha's metaphor reveals our potential to transcend the very conditions that produced us, to evolve beyond our current limitations. The question becomes, are you merely a passive participant in human evolution? Or can you actively contribute to humanity's future development? Buddhist practice suggests the latter. Each time you cultivate awareness instead of reactivity, compassion instead of selfishness, wisdom instead of delusion, you're not just changing your own mind. You're participating in the evolution of consciousness itself. What began as a simple question, where do humans come from, has led us to something far more profound. The origin of humanity isn't just about biological processes or cosmic events. It's about the nature of consciousness itself. According to Buddhism, we didn't just evolve physically from simpler life forms. We emerged from the vast ocean of consciousness, taking on increasingly complex forms as our awareness became more differentiated, more individualized. Our human bodies represent the physical manifestation of specific mental tendencies, the outward expression of our collective karma. The most powerful insight isn't about our past, but about what it means for our present. If consciousness precedes physical form, if mind shapes matter rather than merely arising from it, then the power to transform lies within our awareness. This understanding doesn't contradict science, it complements it, offering a perspective on why evolution happened the way it did, not just how. Understanding our origins reveals our extraordinary potential. Human consciousness evolved precisely to enable awakening. Our specific balance of awareness, desire, and suffering creates the ideal condition for spiritual transformation. This is why Buddha emphasized the precious opportunity of human birth. It's not just rare, it's precisely calibrated for enlightenment. You can experience this understanding directly, not just intellectually. Try this simple practice. For just 5 minutes, sit quietly and observe your breath. Notice how your awareness can witness sensations, thoughts, and emotions without being completely identified with them. This witnessing quality, this luminosity of mind, offers a direct glimpse of what Buddha described as our original nature. Through regular meditation, you gradually disentangle consciousness from its dense physical and psychological patterns, allowing your awareness to become progressively lighter, clearer, and more expansive, echoing in your own experience the cosmic journey from light to form and potentially back to light again. So I leave you with this question. If human birth represents such a rare opportunity, if your consciousness has evolved through countless cycles to reach this point, how will you use this precious human life? Will you continue the patterns that led to greater density, separation, and suffering? Or will you redirect your remarkable human awareness toward its highest potential? The answer doesn't just determine your individual destiny, it shapes the future evolution of our species. Because where humans go from here depends on how conscious we become of where we truly came from. Thank you for joining me on Buddha's Wisdom. If you found value in this exploration, please subscribe to our channel and share this video with someone who might benefit from this perspective. If your life is that turtle in the vast ocean, don't waste this breath.